Now there's a key on there, and you can use that key to locate. It even tells you the type of airspace, whether it be class A, B, C, D, or E. Of course, class A is anything above 18,000 feet. That's restricted airspace. You have to have permission to enter that airspace above 18,000 feet. It requires you to have an instrument rating and or a special permit to fly up in that airspace. Gliders oftentimes will be allowed up in that airspace, even though you don't have to be instrument rated to do that. They'll post a NOTAM to let everybody know that you're flying in that area above that altitude. They do that sometime for rockets, for testing rockets. There's a lot of model rocket groups out there, and they'll open up an airspace for them on that. So on the map, you'll be able to find your airport. It could be a magenta color or a blue color. Gliders with 2 on board. Oh yeah, there's a lot of sailplanes that'll hold passengers. In fact, Fawcett.
O2.
Oh, O2 on board? Yes. Oh yeah. In fact, most sailplanes have O2 on board. All the ones that I've flown in the past have oxygen on them. Usually a cannula, in a cannula form. Although I have used regular old World War II O2 masks and regulators. But yeah, you know, you're required to be on oxygen as a pilot. It's a must for everyone above 14,500, and pilot at night's required, although you'll see a lot of pilots not observing that, above 5,000 at night and above 12,500 during the day. So, but everybody's got a little bit different tolerance for oxygen, but most people start having hypoxia. If they're non-smokers, they'll start having symptoms of yawning and stuff like that above 15,000. Although I've seen some people do okay at 25,000. So, but oxygen above 30,000 switches over to and from a demand system to forced. Yeah, you can do that. Your body changes chemistry when you go from a lying down position to a standing position. That's why a lot of times people will get faint when they're trying to stand up. It's a totally different animal. But if you've been on top of a mountain like Pikes Peak and you start walking around, you'll notice that you get winded pretty fast. So you want to be at your best when you're flying. So it's a good idea to go on oxygen. So as far as navigation goes, we have GPS. We used to have a system called Loran that we don't use hardly anymore. In fact, they're thinking about turning off all the stations, even for, yeah, you've been at 12,000 in Afghanistan. And if you're walking around as a serviceman with a pack on, then that's pretty rough. We don't use Loran anymore. We still use Vortac navigation. Have anybody ever seen these, what looks like an upside down ice cream cone looking antenna station? You'll see them out while you're driving around out in the country sometimes. That was the old navigation system. It's called Vortac. And yeah, we actually have one in Kitty Hawk that's a simulation of a Vortac station. Basically, it's a radio navigation system that uses 360 degrees. When you're traveling to the station, then you put a 2 indication and dial in your heading, and then you just fly the needle. When you're moving away from the station, moves away. it'll go away from the radio that you're on. So if your needle moves to the right, then you fly to the right, and then the needle will go back to the center. Now outbound, of course, you're different. When you pass over the station, it goes from a from a to indication to a from indication, and then you fly the outbound radio. So when you're setting up your navigation for those, then you're going to have the station which has a Morse code signal designator on it and a frequency, and you'll tune that into your radio. And when you're going inbound, you'll have a to indication traveling on a certain radio, and then outbound the same way. You'll be going from the station out, and that's the way everybody used to travel. You know, they used vortex, to from. You would fly from vortex to vortex, and that was a way to get around and be relatively secure. But all of that is important, except that sometimes you know, you can get lost. Well, the best way to keep from getting lost is to know where you are, and that's where the navigating VORs are still in place, and it's another way for you to navigate. You can actually use to vortex to triangulate your exact position. They're not totally being replaced, but yeah, GPS is the standard, and as time goes on, even the VOR stations will be taken out. Yeah, they are maintained by the FAA, and a lot of flight service stations are located at those VOR stations, so they serve dual duty. Yeah, helicopter you drop down. Well, you know, IFR means I follow railroads. Well, not really instrument flight rules, but so those sectionals become very important. If you're flying across the country, we actually go ahead and map out our route on the maps using multiple sectionals, and we actually take a little scale and we draw a line, and we'll mark checkpoints on our way, and it gives us, and this is really involved as far as sitting down and navigating using dead reckoning, which is a way that you do pilotage plus use what's called an E6B calculator computer, and allows you to get your wind correction angle, your true heading based on magnetic heading, and there is a correction angle that you have to stick in there to get your exact heading. So GPS is sure a lot easier than doing all that, but we really do try to back ourselves up when we're flying cross country so that we always know where we are. And you can look at the map and look down at the ground and pick out all the features so that you know where you are, because you don't want to get lost. You always want to keep an airport, you know, an alternate airport fairly close by.